Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And we've got another Inside Star Citizen reaction video. And it's to today's release, which is all about Alpha 323, the patch dispatch video. It is currently 4:23 in the afternoon, UK time, on the day that this came out. So this is very, very fresh. I haven't watched it at all. So I'm kind of excited to see this. I know we pretty much know the majority, if not everything, that is going to be in the patch, but I'm going to be honest, I'm hoping there's maybe one or two surprises. But I also expect there to be maybe another like mini explanation of why certain things have dropped out of the patch as well. And I don't think Jared will give us a definite timeline on any of those. If you watched the live last week, you'll know that they weren't promising anything. It's just that those things are particularly close. And for those of you who don't know, those things are the personal persistent hangars, the cargo elevators, and the new inventory kiosks, which are kind of all tied together. And they decided that they just weren't quite ready enough for proper testing. So they decided to remove them from the initial Alpha 323 patch and plan to release it in a 323.1, 322, 3.2, whichever it turns out to be. But by all accounts, it's not that far off. It's not something we need to be particularly worried about. And I know a lot of people look at things like this and go into a blind panic thinking, oh my God, this is the end of the feature. It's not going to work. They're going to, no, it's not like that. It's just that it wasn't at a standard that they wanted to put out to people to even test, let alone go out onto the live servers. So it should be quite an interesting video, this one. Obviously, we'll make a comment on some of the features as we go along. And as always, guys, if you do enjoy this video, make sure you do drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as more and more videos will be coming out. And just leave any comments in below about Alpha 323. I really want to hear what you guys are thinking about it. Those of you who have managed to have a go at it on the test server, be really good to hear your views, what you like, what you don't like. I'd love to hear your thoughts on master modes, because that's probably one of the areas I have the least knowledge in. But yeah, go ahead, fill your boots within reason, I guess. And yeah, let's get on with this and see what they're going to tell us.
Alpha 323 is just around the corner, and that means it's time for Patch Dispatch 323, where we run down all the new features and content included in what could be Star Citizen's biggest patch yet. So let's just jump right into things.
Of course, the replication layer. Oh no, there's two of them.
And we'll start with life in the first person. And in 323, life begins with a newly expanded and revamped character customizer, letting you create more dynamic and representative avatars than ever before. A new beginning that will continue to evolve with additional features and options in subsequent patches.
Yeah, great one to start off with. Obviously, the logical one to start off with. And the character customizer is just a huge step forward from what they had before. I really did not like the old blending system. And I know they've still got it in here, but I'll be completely honest with you. I don't use it. I don't touch blend. I much prefer being able to drag the little dots around to, form the face. Occasionally, I might have a look at the blends just as a bit of a guide, but in general, I start off with a base one and then I start manipulating things as well. But it is so good. Obviously, we got things like the different hair color. We've now got more hairstyles, builds, different skin tones, different blemishes on the skin. It's a much better overall customizer. And as he said, there's more to come. They're not even finished in terms of what they're going to be doing with the character customizer. We know we've got more hairstyles coming. We know there's more beard styles coming. There's going to be more skin tones coming. So, and I hope they add maybe a couple of little extra points to be able to manipulate your face. Like, in particular, the cheeks, I find, are very difficult to manipulate into the right shape, cheeks and cheekbones. So I do think there is some tweaking there that needs doing. But overall, It's brilliant. I've got my character. I have saved my character to a separate file on the desktop so that I can, you know, upload him at any time. I can share him. Obviously, I'll tweak him as time goes along, but no, it's just again, it's quality of life, but it's more than that because it's about creating your identity within the universe. And I'm really, really excited to see what people come up with, and not just handlebar moustaches everywhere. You know, there's going to be a lot of really, really random stuff, and it's going to look great.
Now let's discuss all the major improvements that directly affect your character, starting with the new Mobiglass. Now, unlike Eobard Thawne, we finally killed the Flash, as the new Mobiglass finally makes its in-universe debut with a revamped layout and new features like the
No, that
Health and
hasn't
Contract
changed.
Manager apps to help you stay alive and find work respectively.
So yeah, I did a video on the UI updates a couple of weeks ago, the Mobiglass and the star maps. Again, it's just such a massive step forward, and we're starting to see this design language for what Star Citizen is going to be on release, with all the different cards, all the different sections everywhere. It looks cleaner. It's just easier on the eye. There's the information is is divided up better and it makes more sense. And I'll be honest, I haven't had a single problem with the new Mobiglass so far. I love it. I'm looking forward to those couple of other bits that they've not changed, like the vehicle customization section needs to be updated. There was another section that I think needs updating as well. But on the whole, what a massive, massive improvement that is. And I think there's a lot of people who won't have had a chance to test it out yet, and I think it could be one of the favorite features just because it's just better. And you're going to hear me say that a lot in this video. I think that it's just better.
It also includes the long-awaited and hotly anticipated new Maps app, combining the new star map and interior map experiences into one unified interface, with an entire host of new functionalities designed to help you find your way through landing zones, space stations, and the entire verse as a whole.
Um, in terms of the star map and the local map, again, I did speak about this before, but I've had a chance to play around with it a bit more since then. There are a couple of little functionality bugs, like I can't always get the set route to work properly. It can be really finicky in certain locations. One of the things that I really would like, and I know they've made a change, and I can't remember the dev's name. She was on Star Citizen last week, but this is kind of her baby as well. Um, but I know they've changed it so that when you're in space, it defaults to space view. When you're on ground, it does default to literally your local view. I would like it if we didn't have to rely on the scroll all the time. What I'd like to see is a a kind of shortcut to go from ground level to planet level to system level. Just like three quick keys that we can just press that automatically zoom us out to a certain level of magnification rather than like having to use the scroll wheel all the time to zoom in and out. I like that that feature does what it does. It's a really nice feature, but sometimes I just want to press a key and it automatically zoom me out to the right view. So that's one of the little things that I'd like to see them add to that. Other than that, again, I have no complaints about this feature. It's such a great addition. And it like I've gotten so used to having a mini map in the top left hand corner now. Like it's been there forever. I can't imagine going back. In fact, I'll be honest. I haven't touched the live servers since Wave One. So, in fact, no, sorry, since no, it would be Wave One, yeah. So, I can't ever couldn't see myself going back to that if it were an option after this. Of course, it won't be.
Oh, and that work also touches the new lens and visor updates with a great new mini-map that appears now in the upper left corner. Your days of not finding your way around are soon behind you. Unless you're
I think one of the things that really impresses me about it actually is the fact that it is so smooth. Like even when you're walking along, like it's tracking your movement real time. Like there's no delay, there's no stuttering. It just works. And you know, those of us who have been playing the game for any length of a time know that sometimes these features don't always work smoothly. The mini map just rolls. It just rolls really nicely. I hope he's going to cover other elements of the UI shortly as well, because we do have other extra bits like everything you get in the bottom corners as well, to show you like your crime stat, your health status, what weapon you've got equipped, how much ammo you've got, all those little things, which hopefully we'll see in the video a bit more. But they're starting to make this feel more like the game it's going to be.
You're a specific person who won't be named. You know who you are. Of course, when you're traveling through the verse, Alpha 323 has a whole new array of improvements to how you'll interact with the world around you, starting with a revamped player interaction system that's more nimble and customizable than ever before. Default item actions that let you keep your customizations exactly how you want them. A new shopping interface that streamlines the experience so you can get what you want and go. And new looting screens to improve your alternate and more violent shopping experience.
I haven't looted any enemies yet, so I can't actually completely talk about this particular function, but I can talk about like your own inventory. Yeah, and this new bottom inventory screen here, I love it. I actually really, really love it. And my only complaint with it is if you hit I, it doesn't default to that. I would like to be able to set a default that it comes to this bottom part. Um, Rather than press I, go to the normal inventory and then have to press the little arrow that is in the top right hand corner to switch to this view. This view needs to be the default. And what they do have is just where I'm pointing here on the other screen, which hopefully they'll show it. You've got backpack, core armor, leg armor. We do need another one there for your local area inventory or whatever other inventory you've got, at least for now. I know ultimately there isn't going to be a local inventory, but I think for now we need something there so that I can drag something from my local inventory, put it in my backpack, or drag it from local inventory straight onto myself. At the moment, you just have to go into the normal inventory to move stuff to your backpack so that you can then switch to this screen and put things in the right place. But this, brilliant. Like, it's such a great design. Again, you've got all those almost card-like sections, like the Mobiglass. So we've got that design language is bleeding through there as well. In terms of some of the other aspects, I did initially have issues with the F key, but I think after about 3 or 4 updates, it started working really smoothly. I haven't really played around with like setting my defaults or anything like that so far. And where he showed like putting the gun up to see all the different attachment points, I've not done it that way yet either. So there's a lot of little things there that I still need to have a play around with so that I can get used to and like embed them into my daily gameplay. But overall, like the UI is it's brilliant. It's not quite the best new thing to come in Alpha 323, but it's pretty high up there. I've got to be honest with you.
And speaking of which, there's lots of new improvements to the way you bring first-person murder, death, kill to your fellow citizens in the verse, including scope magnification updates, ammo repooling and backpack reloading, ADS tuning,
and again, none of this I've really played around with that much.
You can fire straight from the hip in game, and not just from the comfort of your YouTube comments.
Hey, Jared. We know who he's talking about.
And your first-person life doesn't end there, because Alpha 323 allows you to take the fight to 0G with the newly revamped EVA mechanics, changing the way you traverse the verse outside your spacecraft and vehicle.
I've only gone EVA a few times. I've been focusing on a lot of other things, but one of the things I'm going to do once it hits live, I'm going to do all of those Kovalex Gundo contracts, because there's several boxes that you can go there and pick up, and obviously it takes you through the station, up through elevator shafts, and that's going to be great fun, just navigating that and actually being able to do it without your character just going completely mental or suddenly flying into the ceiling or the floor or whatever. So that is going to be something that I do try out very, very early on once the patch goes live. Um, but again, like quality of life, realism as well. It just makes more sense to have your character kind of gliding on their stomach or on their back. It's really great for zero G gunfights as well, because you can turn around and like shoot down the length of your body and whatever. I know at the moment we don't have the function to be able to drag yourself along like the hull of a ship or a space station with your hands. That's going to be a really cool addition to this feature. Um, but again, I do a lot of salvage, so I will be going EVA quite a lot because I'll be going to take stuff out of like the cargo holds of, say, a Hercules, bringing it back to whichever ship I'm using to gather that stuff. So EVA is going to be something that affects me quite a lot, and I'm really, really happy. And honestly, the smoothness, the grace with which you glide into your cargo hold and just land on your feet, it's just it's perfect. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And speaking of your spacecraft or vehicles, the Alpha 323 season also includes new ways to house, load, and launch
It
your
did say
ships with the
season.
new personal persistent hangars coming to ArcCorp,
There we go.
Hurston, Microtech, and Orison
There you go. 323X.
in a 323X patch this quarter,
This
which also
quarter,
includes
though,
item banks to grab your stuff, vehicle platforms to raise your ships, and freight elevators to load them before takeoff.
there has been discourse in recent months about what a quarter is. Look at a calendar. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We're now into May, which means we're halfway through this quarter. So it sounds like, if all goes well, and obviously they're not promising, they can never promise, but it looks like by the end of June, we will get another update that has these particular features in. So that gives us a kind of timeline to look at. Um, my gut feeling now, considering how close we are to Invictus, is we won't get anything this side of that. I wouldn't be surprised if during Invictus there is some Evocati and PTU testing on these features. Um, Again, if you've played the game for a decent period where you've experienced an Invictus or an IAE, you know that after those events, the servers tend to get a bit bunged up, if you like, and they need a bit of a reset. So I wouldn't be surprised if sometime shortly after Invictus, a week, maybe 2 weeks, is when we get at least one 323X patch. Whether that's the one that brings these features remains to be seen. Hopefully, obviously, we all want these in as soon as we can get them, but we also all want them working. So if it needs to be a couple of weeks, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, so be it. But my guess is like maybe last week of May, first week of June. Pure guess, pure guess. So you know, I don't know any more than you guys do. So, but I'm glad they've mentioned it in there, given us a little bit of a timeline, and honestly, I cannot wait for these to happen.
Of course, once you take off, you'll find a new way to fly with master modes and a new way to fight with precision targeting and weapon mount and gimbal changes, meaning space combat's got its next evolution in Alpha 323.
I've done pretty much no combat during testing because that's not really been what I've been focused on. I did try playing a bit of Arena Commander the other day to get some B-roll for another video, and I was absolutely terrible. Like the time to kill was a lot less than I was expecting. This is something that's going to take me a little while to get to grips with. And there's every chance that I'm going to be delving into videos from people like Avenger One to learn how to do master modes correctly. I'm probably going to have to completely redo all my keybinds for my HOTAS, because the way I've got them, they kind of suited me for a lot of really basic things. but there's now obviously switching master modes. You kind of need that to hand really quickly. Maybe other modes need to be nearby as well. So there's going to be a lot of changes that I need to make to that, and I will be seeking out a lot of advice on keybinds. And if anyone does know of someone who's really good with HOTAS in particular keybinds for the game and has some good ones for 323, let me know down in the comments. Let me know on Twitter. I genuinely will be so grateful to you. And if you manage to recommend one that I actually use, I'll even give you a shout out in a future video, you and the person you recommend. So go ahead, let me know down below, because if I want to enjoy this game to the maximum capacity, I need to get to grips with master modes. Even if I'm not particularly good at combat, I still want to be able to give it my best shot.
But what if flying in the PU isn't enough? Or you simply want a safe place to practice the changes? Well, there's a whole host of new maps and experimental modes in Arena Commander 323 that we covered here in detail just last week.
Just very briefly, as I said earlier, I don't really do a lot of Arena Commander. That's probably a bad thing. I probably should use it a lot more, especially to get used to master modes. I do want to get into it and have a look at the engineering, though, and I'm going to try and get a group of people together at some point for us to go and do that as a crew together, because I am looking forward to engineering. I think it's going to really add a fantastic new dimension to the game. And I've said before, I'm quite happy to be a crew member on someone else's ship, running around, like replacing fuses, putting out fires, all that kind of thing. More than happy to do that. So Arena Commander will be important for me over the next few weeks to give that a try.
Then back in the persistent universe and down planet side, you'll find the new distribution centers with a variety of mission and gameplay opportunities for all manner of playstyles, and the added...
The distribution centers are probably my favorite thing in the patch as it stands in terms of what we're going to get released in the first iteration. They're just amazing. They are huge. It's you can actually get lost walking around them, which I kind of like that. And the fact that they've got so many different contracts that we're going to be able to do is wonderful. Like, you'll be able to spend like whole sessions doing contracts just around distribution centers. Obviously, like pretty much everyone else, I'm really hoping there comes a time where we can, like, as an organization, take over distribution centers, have to defend them, or we have to go in and attack other people's distribution centers. Just all those kinds of things are going to be really cool. So far, I've only really done one of the legal clear out enemies contracts, which was brilliant. I really enjoyed doing that. I had a few performance issues at the time I was doing it, but it still got through. But there's so much more to come with distribution centers. And at the moment, everything is just focused above ground as well. Like, we're not even anywhere near once we get the underground side of those facilities. And I've got a feeling that that side of things is going to take a little while. I might even guess that it's beyond 4.0 at this rate, but I hope I'm wrong, because I really, really am looking forward to what they might be doing with all those underground contracts. Especially, like, I've got a few ideas that will involve creatures. I think there's really big scope to, like, involve creatures in the underground parts of those. Again, Citizen Con Elliot, if I get to meet you, I might be throwing a few ideas your way that you might already have, but no harm in sharing, is there?
dangers of the American Copian, Star Citizen's first fauna being added to Alpha 323. And how are the Merrics dangerous? Just wait until they add poop mechanics.
Oh no. Oh no.
Then there's
I've only come across the Copion so far. I've not really made a lot of effort. I say I've not made a lot of effort. I did try and go and do one of the contracts while I was live on stream over on Twitch, and I stupidly fell down a mountain, and it was in one of those periods where loading back into the game was a bit of an issue on the PTU. So yeah, I did eventually manage to do one of the cave missions, going to hunt down the Copions. That was really cool. But I'm yet to actually experience them like in the cold daylight. So that is something else that's going to come up in my live streams once the patch does go live.
There's also exciting new technological improvements like our initial implementation of Vulcan, new DLSS, FSR, TSR upscaling, and the new water rendering and simulation tech that will make Star Citizen look even better than ever before.
I have switched Vulcan on. When they launched it, they said, we don't expect you to see much improvement at the moment because, you know, it was just the initial thing, making sure it works with everything else. But the performance improvements already for me are amazing. Like, I very, very rarely have FPS drops now. And I don't play on 4K. I'm still 1920 by 1080. But it's already improving things to the point where I can actually have clouds on high without any problems. And again, you know, 6 months ago, if I tried to put them on high, PC would catch fire. So it has definitely had a massive impact. The water mechanics, I literally only checked these out for the first time 2 days ago, and oh, they're so good. They're so good. I'm not very good at low flying, so I'm not going to be able to like show these off particularly well without it ending unhappily. But it's yeah, it's really coming along nicely. I think there's still a little bit of work to be done, but we're not talking like masses and masses. It's cool. It's really cool.
And then under the hood, with the new replication layer split in 323, players no longer connect directly to the game servers and instead to the hybrid service, which hosts the replication layer, which then itself maintains the state of the game.
Have they used the term hybrid
the
service
loss of a
before?
server can be recovered from without the players being disconnected from the game or losing their progress, and sets the stage for multiple game servers sharing a single hybrid replication layer in the server mesh coming online with Alpha 4.0.
So in the current iteration, that works. It does work. Like, I've not had a 30k where I've been completely kicked out of the game. I've had maybe 4 or 5 server issues, as you've seen there. They've ranged from about 3 minutes up to something like 7-8 minutes before, and that obviously is something they're going to work on. Like, their ambition is not to have us sitting there for ages waiting for the servers to reconnect. I don't know what their target time is. I don't know if they're trying to get it to a stage where it's like literally instant. That's going to take a lot of work if that's what they want. But certainly, like, if they can get it down to sub 3 minutes, I'm happy with that, you know, as long as it doesn't cause you to die in between, which it shouldn't do because there's no reason for it to. But yeah, good start, and looking forward to seeing how that progresses over the remainder of this year and probably throughout next year as well, as they really refine it, tighten it up. Adding in Pyro is going to bring with it plenty of challenges, and some of those will definitely be to do with the replication layout and server meshing. So it's going to have its ups and downs, I think. But at the moment, early indications are really positive, and I'm really happy with where we're at with it at the moment.
So all in all, there's more things in Alpha 323 than you can shake a stick at, but there's actually even more, as this branch not only includes all the hangar and cargo improvements we discussed earlier, it also contains the next iteration of Invictus Launch Week, which is actually 2 weeks because we're all super extra here. And we'll introduce a handful of new ships and vehicles folks have been waiting for, as well as one straight to flyable that's available with 323 launch. So let's learn more from John, Ben, and
surprises! We like surprises. I'm not going to say anything yet.
The Mirai Pulse is Mirai's entry into the ground Graev bike category.
Is a new racing vehicle from Mirai. It kind of builds on some of their kind of core values as a brand of MISC, focusing more on performance. It takes a lot of inspiration, shall we say, from the Razor, and really kind of shrinks that kind of thrill of speed down.
So the role of...
I have to be honest, when I first saw these, I thought it was someone just trolling. And then I found out these are real. I'm not a fan. I'm really not a fan. I can't quite explain why. I generally don't like the shape of them. I'm not really a particular fan of many of the ground vehicles anyway in the game so far. But I do have a Ranger. I've pledged for a Ranger, and I prefer the look of that to the look of these. I think this is going to be one of those ones I'm going to have to try them, because once I test one of them, I might be a lot happier with them, and the joy, there might be joy in using these things, but at the moment these aren't really doing anything for me. But as with anything in this game, you know, it can surprise you. It can look a certain way, but once you sit in that seat, it can give you such a different feeling. So I'm not going to be too harsh. I'm going to reserve most judgment on it, but at the moment, I can't say I'm excited for these.
Grav vehicles in the game, and especially hover bikes, it allows you to, you've got a mission in mind, perhaps you don't want to risk bringing your ship or larger vehicle right up to it. It allows you to park some distance away, out of radar range, out of line of sight, and then infiltrate stealthily, speedily towards the target location. And of course, as features like weather comes online and more diverse and hazardous biomes such as heavily dense forests, Grav vehicles, bikes will become more useful as ways to get closer to your target without damaging ships.
And that's a fair point. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit cold about things like this, is that, like, their use is still fairly limited right now. I don't know what they're doing about Gravlev vehicles being targeted by turrets on, you know, bunkers and presumably distribution centers as well, because that has been an issue for some people. But I think he's right. I think once other things come online, their usefulness will improve a lot. And again, like, maybe once we reach that stage, I'll be a lot more fond of them, is particularly if I'm like with an org and there's a group of us using these to get to a location, maybe to our own bases once we get into base building as well. But again, for the time being, the Pulse isn't really speaking to me.
The Pulse is our smallest ground vehicle. It was a intentional design choice to make something as small and compact and as fast as possible, and Mirai as a brand sort of fits that performance ideology.
It needs to be small. It needs to be small, fast, agile, and really that just kind of gives us a much greater opportunity of how the players can really experience that sense of speed on one of our ground vehicles.
So the Pulse comes in two flavors. We've got the base version, which comes equipped with a custom laser Gatling on the front. And then you have the LX, which is the dedicated racing version. It loses that front weapon, replaces it with a big intake, you get extra thrusters. So out of all the Gravlev bikes, it is one of the most agile there.
So unlike the Rangers, there isn't one that's like got boxes on the side for you to carry things in. I think there was another slightly more combat focused one than just the base one of the Pulse as well. So they've kept it to just two variants, which is interesting. I wonder if there's some learning they've had from like sales of or pledges for the Ranger. Maybe there's certain Ranger models that aren't particularly showing any interest at the moment, and they just decided with this to keep it to two. Or maybe it is just the fact that it's such a compact vehicle that it just wasn't practical for them to go outside of just the two models.
The reason it's so small and compact is we wanted it to have the most compatibility with all of our other vehicles in game. So by being compact allows you to pretty much stuff it into every single other vehicle in existence in the game.
Size-wise, I think it's just over 2.5 meters in length.
No
so
way.
It's tiny. To put that into some perspective, it's a tiny bit longer than 2 SCU of cargo.
Oh, bloody
so
hell.
it is very small.
I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 vehicles out there where it doesn't fit in, maybe such as the MPUV, but across the board it's designed to get in a lot of other vehicles.
Okay, fair.
My favorite thing about the Pulse series is just the way we've integrated all the components together into that incredibly tight.
Just going back to the point about the size of it then, like at the moment, in terms of your starter ships, I think the smallest vehicle you can comfortably fit a ground vehicle in terms of the starters only, I think, if I'm right, is the Cutlass Black. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. But I don't think at the moment you can fit anything in a Titan. And then the next size up would be maybe the Nomad. Is the Nomad technically smaller than the Cutlass Black? So you can fit certain vehicles on the back of the Nomad. But the fact that this will now fit in, say, a Titan, if you're getting that as your starter pack, you know, I can see maybe CIG doing a combination pack at some point of X starter ship with a pulse. So Titan with a pulse, Cutlass Black with a pulse, Nomad with a pulse. And I don't have a problem with that. I actually think that would be quite a good idea for a new player getting into the game to have that pack where they've got their space vehicle and at least some kind of ground vehicle. So, yeah, okay. I can definitely see the benefits to this. Again, just not for me right now.
Chassis.
We tried to kind of fuse the idea of a sports bike, but almost, I think they're called like naked bikes. So we wanted it to feel still quite aggressive and quite kind of chunky, almost like a bobber. But we kind of really wanted that sleekness that Mirai and the brand as a whole kind of is known for. One of the, I guess, biggest kind of challenges that our like Alberto and the concept team really had to work on, which then turned our production artists and kind of gave them a few things to scratch their head against, is really fitting all of the ship items and the components into a vehicle of this size.
As we never did anything so small, new problems come along. I decided to take the same approach of a motorbike. We tried to insert most of the components in what will be the fuel tank, and with this approach we kept the same shape, the same main shape of a motorbike. So we have very fluid and soft shapes, palindromal, which means that you can flip it and it looks kind of the same, and then we added the front part just to connect the semiotic of the racing vehicles to this one.
Okay.
We were really tight to the size because it can fit in a container, and that created a huge challenge with how the components move when you actually have to expose them. So that dictated actually the shape we ended up with, and I'm really happy with the final result because you couldn't say probably that inside such a small vehicle there are so many components.
If you're a motorbike fan, and I know there's plenty of motorbike fans who play Star Citizen, what do you think of it? Like, do you like the design? Like, I know certainly with like the colors of, I think it was the LX there, like it really gives a bit of a Kawasaki vibe. And I can definitely see like the motorbike and particularly like racing bike languages there. So like, does this appeal to you guys if you're motorbike fans? And how do you feel about the possibility of paints for this? Because I can imagine there's some really good paints that could come out for this. Like, again, like if you're Ducati fans or if you're into MotoGP, you know, superbikes, whatever it is, it's definitely going to be some appeal to some good paints out there for you. I'm pretty sure of that.
Compared to our other Graev ground vehicles, the Pulse it trades durability for speed and agility. So compared to say like the Dragonfly and the Hoverquad, which are relatively tanky, not as good there.
Probably best not for me not to use one then.
Mirai tries to simplify things a bit. Less is more. We try to have a different approach compared to most of racing vehicles and communicate speed through mass and not through aerodynamics.
Okay.
Although we keep aerodynamics in consideration for this kind of stuff.
In terms of the Nox and the X1, it is right up there in speed and agility. So they all trade different speed attributes in terms of straight line speed, cornering speed, rotational velocities.
Oh, there's going to be some good races that come out of this once all those vehicles are in the game.
The bespoke weapon on the front of the base model is our first laser Gatling in the game, so we're looking forward to see how that performs. So that's the Pulse coming online in 3.23.
I hadn't even considered flying it
all the different
inside.
scenarios you're going to get it into.
That's cool. I certainly don't hate it.
Did I say it's small? It's really, really small. And goes really, really fast.
Okay, that's good.
See the memes coming.
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully we were reminded of all the great work the combined Star Citizen and Squadron 42 teams have been working on that make their way to the persistent universe in Alpha 323. That like any and every other feature in Star Citizen, the work doesn't stop here and will continue to iterate and evolve in subsequent releases. And that the Mirai Pulse is this teeny tiny hover bite that can fit into all sorts of places and may just be John Griffith's and James Kay's worst nightmares when players try to squeeze them deep down into the distribution centers. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
As always, Jared, thank you very much. Let's just hang on, see if he's doing a skit. He's not done one for... In fact, no, there is no skit, so we will stop there. I was kind of hoping we were going to get some information there about other ships. The fact that he's mentioned ships that we've been looking forward to for a while. So there's going to be an absolute ton of speculation about that. I know we've had the roadmap roundup released this week. I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm not going to make myself look silly and speculate on where certain ships may be. And I'm going to wait until I've looked at that. If I may do a video on that, I don't know yet. But for now, we'll just stick with this and the other big video that I've got coming out shortly. I'm very much looking forward to Invictus. I really do enjoy those events, even though, you know, they do end up with performance issues by the end of it. Yeah, I just love being able to fly ships that I don't have, that maybe I sometimes turn my nose up at. It's still a good chance to see if my mind can be changed. So the fact that that's going to be 2 weeks as well, really excited for that. And you know, if you are a new player, if you're not yet playing the game and you're thinking about it, Invictus is the time for you to have a go. You'll get to download the game. You won't have to spend a penny to be able to give it a try, and you'll be able to try like 95% of the flyable ships in game. So it really is worth it. It's also a really great way to test to see if your setup can handle the game, especially with the new technology coming in. I think it's going to be a really good way to start benchmarking in this particular Invictus event. So yeah, I would definitely, if you're thinking about the game, if you're undecided, get into Invictus and give it a try. And don't forget, if you do decide to do that, or if you do decide to pledge the game, when you create your account, use somebody's referral code. Mine is on the screen down there now. What will happen if you use that is you'll get 5,000 UEC to use on items in game. And I, or whoever's code you use, will get a referral point to be able to like redeem against certain prizes. And the more referrals that you get, the bigger the prizes. And that can include anything from gimbals for a ship up to REC to use in Arena Commander, so that you can rent ships to use in that, and even to certain ships in the game like the Gladius, a PTV, just a little ground vehicle, but even all the way up to like the Javelin is actually the top reward at the moment. So make sure you do use somebody's code. It doesn't have to be mine. If you've got a friend out there who plays the game, ask them for their code if you've got a favorite creator. Most creators will put their code on their page somewhere, but if you're not sure, get in touch with them in social media and ask them what their code is. If you use Reddit, if you're in the Star Citizen Reddit, there is a link there to the random code finder, and it will just give you a random person's code. It's just really important that you use that code when you are creating your account, because if you forget to use it then, there's no later opportunity to do so. And the only other condition is that you spend at least $40 on your first pledge. If you spend on any, like, sometimes the lowest price ships go a little bit cheaper than that, and at that stage they won't count, so it has to be at least $40. And also, there is probably going to be a bonus to the referral during Invictus. We're just finishing one where you and the person whose code it is got a free P-52 Merlin, little snubfighter, when you signed up. Obviously, we don't know what they're going to do for Invictus. It could be another small vehicle. It could be an armor set. It could be decorations for your hangar. We don't know yet. They haven't announced anything. But definitely keep an eye out on that and take advantage of those offers when they are around. So just to finish off with the talk about 323, I'm really excited. Whenever we're coming around to one of these bigger patches, I always get a little bit impatient, a little bit restless. I stopped playing the live servers. I stopped playing the game as much as usual in general. And I'm really, really like anxious to get back into the game and start grinding. I'm one of the people who's quite happy if there's a wipe so that we start from scratch. I know not everyone agrees. Nothing is confirmed. So, you know, don't get too panicky because there may not be a wipe. But if there is, I'm really looking forward to starting from scratch and grinding through the game. I'm going to take a slightly different approach to how I've played it, how I've streamed it recently, and kind of have some really solid longer term goals in play so that like people who watch my videos, people who come to my live streams can like help measure my success, help direct me towards success as well. And I will say now, if this does go live this weekend, so that's the weekend of the 4th and 5th of May, on Monday is a bank holiday here in the UK, and I will do an 8-hour live stream over on Twitch of the game. So guys, come and follow me over there. It's Jedi Andy TV. Come and join me over there. Hopefully there'll be a chance to get other people to come in and play with me as well. But it'll be great to see some of you there as well. As we start to explore what feels like almost like a whole new world. It isn't yet, but it's getting there. And it certainly is a massive, massive step forward in the game. And I'll try and like document my adventures as much as I can. I'll try and use it to get some videos up on YouTube as well. There'll probably be another live YouTube stream at some point in the next few weeks, maybe during Invictus as well. But yeah, this is in the time that I've been playing, which is almost 2 years now. This is the biggest update to date. And it's going to carry on getting bigger as they put in the hangars and cargo elevators in hopefully just a few weeks' time. But as always, guys, I said it at the top of the stream. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done so, please hit that like button, hit subscribe so that I can get up to 500 subscribers as soon as I possibly can. And, leave your comments about the patch in the section below. And I look forward to seeing what you guys are thinking about this. But in the meantime, guys, have a good weekend. I shall see you all in the verse very, very soon.